All right, are we live? Got to give a thumbs up. Got to figure this out.
No.
This is what happened. This is what happened last year. Hit go live and then had to mess around for a couple of seconds. Are we good?
I don't see it yet.
No. Yeah, it does say 0 viewers.
Because it was scheduled before.
It said I could start early though. Well, now we got 103 people watching.
Oh, it's going.
It's going?
Yes.
All right, it's going. All right, Connor, you ready?
Yeah, we're definitely on, as I see it on my laptop below my monitor.
Why didn't you say something? All right, 3, 2, 1.
Whoops.
Welcome to the opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers, obviously live here after round 1 of the 2024 NFL Draft. This is 2:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and anybody who's East Coast sitting here watching this, shoot, anybody who's in any time zone watching this at this part of the night, we salute you. You're a true addict. We absolutely love you. Thank you for being here, rocking with us. Connor, I'm very excited, man. We're going to go through a lot of our favorite picks and the craziness that was round 1. How you feeling, my friend? You just got off doing a lot of live reactions for the show yourself for NBC, but we still got a little bit left in the tank here. You got one more show in you?
This is the best I got one more show me. This is the best I've felt, I think, at this stage after round 1. Like pure adrenaline. I don't know if it was the drive home, whatever it was. I feel great. I feel like this is my 8 o'clock right now. I'm not ready for bed. I kind of need this before bed right now. So I'm excited. We are gonna go through all around 1.
What were you listening to on the ride home? Now I gotta know. I gotta know what was just like absolutely pumping you up at this time of night.
Honestly, just to get through it and focus on the road, because I hit a lot of traffic. That's why we're on so late. Hand up, this is my fault. I was about at 40 minutes later than I wanted to be. And when I said traffic, I mean Connecticut construction. Really good times at this hour. I was listening to a lot of house music just to completely, like a little Pursuit of Happiness, Steve Aoki remix. Like, yeah, I needed something with a little bit of adrenaline just to keep my focus on the road. And I knew we were doing this show, so I didn't want to come in dragging ass. Like, I'm ready to roll, dude. I've been looking forward to this all day.
I was gonna say I never thought that you would drag ass, especially because after this first round, man, a lot of things happened that I thought was gonna happen, but then there's plenty of things that didn't. So let's just get right to it. And look, for everybody who's out there watching, there are going to be some teams that we just don't spend a ton of time on here on this show. We don't have 3 hours to be able to record it, but I promise we're going to get to all of these picks and the analysis for every team by the time the end of the weekend is over. We'll start at the top, though. I do want to start at the top and work our way down. Caleb, we knew he was going to be the number 1 overall pick. That was not really a surprise at all whatsoever. Jaden Daniels ends up being the pick at 2, but we talked about that in our final mock draft episode. So this, again, not really a shock to us. Were you
in the comments right now?
What is Audric Estime's falling? That one?
Just all of them. Somebody asked if I'm drunk. Number 1, no, I don't drink on nights I'm working like this, and I drove home. But the best part is the follow-up was that I was 3 Red Bulls and 6 Tylenols deep. But yes, Estime in the comments, of course. If you're in the comments right now, I just want to say how much I love you. Like the fact that you're up watching this show, you're in the comment section going off about the draft. You are the absolute best of the best viewer of this show, and I just can't thank you enough. Sorry to cut you off, Trevor, but I had to give this outrageous comment section love.
Dude, now that I say that, all of the Estime comments are absolutely popping off. Somebody was like, Estime at 33? Is he falling? That was such a throwaway, like, little part that we had of that podcast episode, and people just let it have its own life. Dude, obviously we're going to spend the next hour talking about how in the world Audric Estime is still available here at the start of round 2. But okay, let's get back to number 3. Was there any like nervousness that you thought it might have been anybody else other than Drake May? Because I felt like last 12 hours leading up to the draft, there was some J.J. McCarthy smoke, which obviously proved to not be correct. But there was also, more importantly, just New England trading down smoke. So they stay at number 3. I'm assuming you think that was the right call.
Yeah, it was. I kept coming back to this, Trevor. There's been a long relationship between the Giants organization and New England, and I think I've said this for a while too on the pod. It felt like ownership with New England, with the Kraft family, was really involved in this, where the people running the football side, clearly had, I wouldn't call it a mandate, but it felt like they were being urged to come out of this draft with a quarterback. Understandable.
Of course.
And I think they did really good here, by the way. It's my QB2 at pick number 3.
I agree.
But when you're fielding Godfather offers, right? Like, we heard a lot of noise that the Giants did everything they could to try to come up into 3. If you're New England, you're going, wait a second, we need a quarterback. Why are we letting somebody come up and take a quarterback unless they really love JJ McCarthy? I had heard this week specifically that with McCarthy, things just swung a little too far the other way, where all this top 5 buzz, and I didn't have him in my top 5 in the mock draft. And I know we talked through this on the last mock draft we did. He wasn't viewed that way. Like, and if there was going to be one team, I think you highlighted this really well in the mock draft, it would have been New England, but it would have been in a trade out scenario. And there was too much gray area discomfort with that scenario for New England, where things can go wrong really quickly. So I think it's good that they stayed and took May, even though they have a lot of rebuilding left to do on that roster, which they will. So no, I felt, honestly, Trevor, it wasn't, I guess, shocking, but this draft went very chalk the first 7 picks.
And we're gonna get we'll get to pick we'll get to pick 8 in a
second.
Well,
number 8. I mean, I saw it coming the whole time.
Oh, you kind of did. You kind of did, because
early.
Michael Penix was QB3 for you, right?
He was, and I had him 11th in my last written mock draft for NBC, and I did a bold prediction on our NBC thing where I said he's gonna go before McCarthy, but I did not think it was Atlanta. I thought it was Minnesota.
And I do want to, obviously we're going to get to the Michael Penix stuff. I do want to read this comment. Brandon Bean trades back twice to get his guy, Audric Estime. So that's right. That's true. Yes. Brandon Bean just master class right now, trading back twice. You think he's a madman, but really he's getting Audric Estime. It's just in position to be able to do that. All right, you know what? Screw it. Whatever. Let's have the Michael Penix Jr. conversation. Let's just do that right here, because I think you got to do it.
I'm yelling "Rise Up" in the comments right now.
I mean,
with my fellow Rise Up
dirty
birds.
Because the second I saw Penix Jr.'s name come across the board, I got a big smile on my face for the PFF. Well, honestly, I was extremely shocked, but I had a big smile on my face at some point, because I thought about you, and I thought about the last year of us talking about this podcast and how you have really carried the flag for Michael Penix Jr. And even though I'm not sitting here saying that, you get to take a Hall of Fame victory lap or anything like that, you've been trying to tell the people Michael Penix is legit, and very clearly the NFL agreed. He goes number 8 overall, and we're going to get to the analysis of this pick because I want to toss to you for that. But it was reported that the Saints, the Raiders, the Seahawks, all were trying to trade up to go get Michael Penix Jr. There was more of a desire for Michael Penix Jr. than JJ McCarthy when it was all said and done.
Right.
And I don't think anybody would have seen that coming. Now, I'd love to hear from you, your reaction when you saw the Penix Jr. name come across the wire. And then we do have to analyze kind of what we actually think of Atlanta making this pick objectively.
Right. 2 totally different things. And I'll even throw this in because you brought up the Saints, the Seahawks, of course, as well, the Raiders. And we don't have to talk about this too long because the Vikings got their guy in McCarthy now, and Vikings fans are ready to roll with that. But I had heard the Vikings were extremely in on Penix as well. So the market was very, very real for him. I think that, for me, it came down to a couple of things. I'll always be honest with the audience. It's I love this guy. I also don't think this guy is going in this round, right? With Penix, I always thought he was a first rounder, especially once he got the medical clearance, because the amount of homework that teams were doing on him with the medical clearance, it's he's a quarterback. Teams love him, and he's medically cleared, and he's a good quarterback. He's going to go in the first round, and we'll have the same combo for Bo Nix with you, who you've carried the Bo Nix flag for how long as well. And the Broncos said, we're just going to take him at 12 because we think he's our guy and he's a quarterback. So we're not going to get cute with this. And at the end of the day, all the quarterbacks went in the top 12 picks, which is, I don't want to say unbelievable, because at the end of the day, if you believe in a guy, you take him in the first round. And that's how we ended up with 6 in the first 12 picks of the draft. Now, the landing spot, I guess I'll start with this. And this is what really kind of put a big damper, a big rain cloud over such a great moment, right? A guy that has had multiple season-ending injuries and over summer was graded as a day 3 pick and Michael Penix and all these things. I mean, the next 2 hours were just flooded with everybody that reports in the NFL saying how unhappy Kirk Cousins was and how blindsided he was. And listen, I get it, right? Kirk Cousins went there. He probably thought they're all in on a Super Bowl. They were going to draft somebody in the top 10 to help the team win now, all that stuff. I felt like, and this is a convoluted situation. It is. Kirk has a ton of guaranteed money. Penix is a guy that, in my opinion, should be playing right now. Like, I don't think Michael Penix needs to sit. That's the bonus of drafting Michael Penix, which makes the whole thing very frustrating. I thought it was really disappointing that Cousins, and it's not like the reporters just got this out of thin air. Like, it took them no effort, it felt like, that just like almost ruined the whole moment. It just ruined the entire moment. The entire thing was how unhappy he was, how blindsided he was, how he was promised this and that. Like, I get it. You have the right to be unhappy. But imagine it from Michael Penix's view and the entire organizational view, how exciting of a moment this was for this guy being the long-term future of the franchise. And now it's just honestly the most dramatic point of the entire draft. And that drama is not going away anytime soon, in my opinion.
Look, I'm really happy for Michael Penix Jr.
How could you not be?
And I think it's exactly what you just said there. How could you not be, right? I mean, this is somebody who has come back from multiple season-ending injuries, gutted it out all the way to the national championship, played very clearly hurt in that national championship game. I'm not trying to take anything away from Michigan, but he was very clearly hurt, and he was trying to give it everything he could after a very long season. And so just for him to be rewarded by... And let's bring this into it too. NFL draft only happens once for these guys, right? It's a lifelong dream, and it only happens once. And Michael Penix Jr. now gets to say that he was a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, which is just really, really cool. So I for Michael Penix, I am super happy. For the Falcons, there is a reality where this works, right? Very clearly, everyone immediately said, well, this is the Mahomes-Alex Smith scenario, which it's not. Alex Smith was not sitting here on a 4-year deal with extreme amounts of dead money on his contract that was left. And so
or crying
just because
through every reporter.
What'd you say?
Or crying through every reporter when the pick was made.
What?
Alex Smith was like the perfect pro in that moment.
Right,
I don't think Kirk Cousins, and I'm not saying Kirk Cousins is a bad person, right? He's highly competitive.
No.
It's just like this. He's not the guy, I think, for that situation. I thought Alex Smith was that guy and embraced
100%.
being that guy.
So the Mahomes situation, I don't really agree with. This is basically just the Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love situation.
Bingo.
Which, look, it worked out, but let's also be honest here. Like, I think Jordan Love was great last season. It was also 1 year. It's not like Jordan Love is now the second coming. Like, it's not like this 100% worked for the long term. Like, we're not exactly sure yet. He's off to a great start. I don't want to take anything away from him. But what did the Jordan Love pick also do? Pissed Aaron Rodgers off. And they picked him in the 20s. They didn't pick him at 8.
Yeah.
So I totally understand Kirk Cousins, because I read this tweet from a good friend of ours, Arif Hassan, who covers the Vikings very closely, and he said it's very clear throughout Kirk's entire career he has just wanted security, like above all else. Right. That's why you put the guaranteed money in contracts, so that he has that mental security that I am their guy. That is no longer the case. You have taken that completely away, despite all of the guaranteed money you gave him for the next 2 years. You have taken that away. You have alienated this dude, and you have put seeds of doubt in the back of his mind where if he starts to struggle at any point over the next 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it is, he will always have Michael Penix Jr. in the back of his head. And another reason why this is sort of strange to me is you have so much dead money tied up in Kirk Cousins. He has to start for the next 2 years. So if you say that Michael Penix Jr. starts year 3 of his rookie contract, okay, it's not the worst thing in the world. But the division is yours for the taking, right? I mean, I don't mean to say any disrespect for Tampa, but it's not like Tampa was a runaway winner for that division. When you signed Kirk Cousins, that was supposed to be the moment of like, okay, this is our division now. We're about to take this by the horns. We're about to have a really great draft coming up, get some major players in here, and we're going to make a difference next year. We're going to win the division, and we're going to take control over the next couple of years. And they could still do that, but Penix does not help them do that for at least another 3 years. And so that also is a little bit of a wrench into me being happy for Michael Penix and where he is with the Falcons. And another thing I have to now put on top of this is the report that the Seahawks, the Saints, and the Raiders were all looking to trade up for Michael Penix Jr. So now, you didn't just take Michael Penix Jr. at number 8 overall. You took him at number 8 plus whatever you could have gotten for a trade down for a team that's now coming up to get a quarterback.
That's the issue. Is the pick had a lot of value. I also know that, I don't know, but I think the Jets would have called to come up for Roma Dunze. Like, it doesn't, like, there was so much value in the pick because everybody wanted something at that point of the draft.
And so Terry Fontenot after the draft says, like, when you have a quarterback that you believe in this league, you have to go draft one. And I don't necessarily disagree with his philosophy there. But the timing of what the Falcons are trying to do is just, there's a thin reality where this works out for you. And every other reality gets you fired. Fired. And I went back and I looked at the draft history of Terry Fontenot up to this point. This guy thinks he's invincible. And maybe he is invincible, right? He drafts a running back at 8 overall. He drafts a tight end at 4 overall. He drafted a wide receiver when I don't think they necessarily needed a wide receiver there at 8. And now you draft a quarterback after giving $180 million to one that you just signed a month and a half ago.
The asset management is questionable.
It goes back to what you and I talked about earlier this offseason. Arthur Blank was fed up. Arthur Blank was fed up of being bad at quarterback. And they did way more than I even thought they were going to make sure that they're never going to be bad at quarterback.
Oh, man. The Alamo, never again. They said if we lose one, we got one right behind them.
The Atlanta Falcons quarterback situation is absolutely their Alamo.
Last year they had... Have you ever been to the Alamo?
I have, yes.
Yeah, it's just like a door. Like, there's nothing else there. So that was them last year. They're like, well, we got nothing. Desmond Ridder was the door. And then they were like, okay, Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix, Michael Pratt tomorrow. Fuck it. Oh, too good.
This is NFLSC After Dark, folks.
After hours, baby.
By the way, over 1,500 people in the live chat watching this show. I mean, we couldn't love you guys anymore. That's just an unbelievable feat. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. The chat's obvious. They're popping off. Okay, Connor, where do you want to go next? Can we just? I'll just open it up to you, man. We could stay towards the top of the draft if you want to hit some of those teams. I mean, we could hit on the Jets, trading back a little bit, still getting your boy Olu Fashanu. Another smile on my face because again, you have been carrying the flag for Fashanu when it feels like it's been shaky with people bringing him down the boards. And not only does he stay up in the top 12, but he goes to your New York Jets to get to play behind Tyron Smith. What do you think about that? Can I get your opinion on that?
Please. I mean, where did Fashanu end up on your final board?
I think like 17. He was top 20 still.
Okay, yeah. I really liked Fashanu in this process and just left him at 7. And with the thought, I really didn't talk about him to the Jets too much because I thought their history is very obsessive with like mauling heavy-footed run blockers, right? They took Becton. ABT was a great athlete, but ABT was definitely a better run blocker, I think, than pass protector coming out. And with Fashanu, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, we got Tyron Smith, but we don't have a left tackle of the future, but he's just so good, right? Like he finishes the 7th player on my big board. The movement skills, the length, the recovery ability, the adjustments, the run blocking is growing. But I thought a couple things for Joe Douglas that are different from previous Joe Douglas drafts. One, they hid this really well. Like my final pick for them, even over Bowers, was Fuanga because that's just their type, right? That's their type. You go with their type.
Right.
They did go offensive line. They went Fashanu. And a nice little bit of business, Trevor, to pick up an extra 4 and 5 from Minnesota with the flip. So you get an extra 4, you get an extra 5. Now they picked 3 times in round 4. Maybe they could package some of those to get back into round 3. They're going to try to get a wide receiver tomorrow as well. But for Fashanu right now, Tyron Smith hasn't played a full season since 2015. Fashanu is going to play this year. Right. He gets to be in an offensive line room with Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith. That's going to go a long way for him. The Jets have an answer at left tackle for when they need it this year. They have an answer at left tackle for Aaron Rodgers probably last season in 2025. And then when they turn the page at quarterback, they still have that cornerstone, in my opinion, on the left side for the long term. So I like the value of the player. I like the fit for the team. And I think it was a really, job well done to capitalize on a good tackle class.
We got Brett Coleman up in here in the chat with us with the show going on. And, to quote him, he says 2 a.m. What the fuck are you doing awake? That's a great question, Brett.
Well,
that's a great question. Well, we're talking draft with the good people. We're freaking out about Michael Penix like every red-blooded American should be doing here at 2 a.m. after round 1 of the 2024 NFL draft. So, look, I love that you love the pick there for the Jets. I think that made a lot of sense. I do want to talk about the Vikings a little bit. The Vikings trade up twice in this draft. They go from 11 to 10. They also traded up from 23 to 17, I think, for Dallas Turner. And they gave up a good amount to do it.
Sure.
But I think they had that flexibility to go get 2 players they really want. And I think they gave up a decent amount to go get Dallas Turner. But with that fall for them, obviously they really wanted to go get another really athletic young pass rusher. So, that checks the box for them. We kind of knew that they were in on Dallas Turner. So that makes sense, the fact that he was still on the board there. I also love how they maneuvered things to where they didn't really panic with McCarthy. Right? They were linked to McCarthy all along. We heard that they tried to go up for Drake May, but when that didn't happen, they weren't sitting here like, oh, we've got to trade up to 4. Oh, we've got to trade up to 5. They just let the draft come to them, and they were able to come away with 2 really good players in this draft. So shout out to the Minnesota Vikings for that. Were you shocked at all that the Los Angeles Chargers, 1, didn't go wide receiver, 2, went with Joe Alt in the end over J.C. Latham? Or do you just have a lot of faith in Joe Alt to be able to play any position on the offensive line?
I think it's the latter, right? Now, number one, I knew they were going offensive line. The only wide receiver that they were going to take was Marv. I had heard 48 hours ago that they wanted Marv. Arizona said no to everybody. They're like, we're taking Marvin Harrison. Like, don't get your hopes up. And that was the only playmaker the Chargers would consider. Once they found that out, it was offensive line. I didn't know if it would be Latham or Alt. And in my final mock, I had it flipped. Latham at 5, Alt at 7. That was obviously wrong. Alt is so freakishly gifted, Trevor, that you kind of go in with the belief that if they need him to play on the right side, he'll be fine. I am curious to see what their plan is going to be. But Harbaugh stuck to Harbaugh, right? He said after, I know you're going to ask me about a weapon. We got a weapon on the offensive line. This is Harbaugh, take it or leave it. And I think that they got one of the best players in the draft. Now Justin Herbert is going to be well protected for a very long time with these bookends. They're going to be able to run the football. And I'll say this for the Chargers as well. Everybody freaking out about them not taking a wide receiver. The Chargers tomorrow, they're one of the first picks of the day. They pick at 37. What's stopping the Chargers from grabbing one of these wide receivers on the board? If they walk out of this thing with Jalen Polk or Keon Coleman or Ladd McConkey, how much better do the Chargers look out after the top 40 where they take Joe Alt and one of those wide receivers? So I'm buying it, honestly. I get it with Malik Neighbors. He would have been the wide receiver I would have taken, but they took a great player in Joe Alt at a position they value. What did you think?
I agree with you. The more I thought about it, and I'm even going back the past month, I sort of became at peace with offensive line not only being an option for the Chargers, but genuinely being the best one. Them drafting Joe Alt. Now, in my final mock draft, I predicted that they would go with Latham because I thought that that's kind of where we were going. But in reality, the best pick for the Chargers, in my opinion, for Jim Harbaugh and for this team to be built the right way was going to be drafting Joe Alt. That has been my thought for this team because of exactly what you said. Not only can they get a wide receiver on day 2 of this draft, Connor, you can get a wide receiver at any point every year.
You just find Puka Nacua. That's all you have to do. It's not hard. You think this is hard?
What did you? Yeah, just wait for the 5th round.
He was a 5th rounder. He broke records last year.
Look, the fact of the matter is, we are sitting here right now talking about a Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, or T. Higgins trade that could happen. You could go sign a veteran wide receiver every single free agency. You can draft a good wide receiver all the time. Okay, are they Malik Neighbors? No, I don't want to disrespect Neighbors. I think Neighbors is special. But you can always go get a wide receiver. You can always upgrade receiver. Always. Every single year. If you want a offensive tackle with all pro caliber ability, you're either drafting
with high upside and low downside. It always comes back to that.
With military and civilian uses. That is just waiting.
It's just a shed in someone's backyard. Aerotime.
Aerotime. Wait, isn't it like Aerotime like alt? Isn't that like what it is?
Is it? That would be very fitting. We're going to need to Photoshop that at some point.
But anyways, you can go get a wide receiver at every single year. There's going to be an opportunity for you to upgrade a wide receiver. If you want an all-pro offensive tackle, you have to draft them in the first round. That is what you have to do. That's the price of getting a good offensive line. So I think the Chargers did a really good job there. Scrolling down the draft tracker, obviously, look, Harrison Jr., chalk, phenomenal pick. The Giants getting Neighbors, phenomenal pick.
Awesome.
Titans getting Latham, okay, it was basically, very clearly, it was either J.C. Latham or Joe Alt, whoever was going to be on the board there. We already discussed Penix. The fact that the Bears got both Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze, I mean, A+. Just absolute A+. Home run. What an incredible evening for Ryan Poles. Who
Bears are going to be good.
Hot take.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll say it on the show. Bears make the playoffs next year.
Sure.
I am right there. The Chicago Bears are making the playoffs next year with a rookie quarterback in Caleb Williams. It's happening. They're making the playoffs. I believe. Keep going down the tracker here. We talked about McCarthy. Talked about the Jets. Bo Nix going to the Denver Broncos. Look, this is one of my favorite landing spots of any player, of any team. I wrote an article about this last week. One of my favorite team prospect fits was Bo Nix getting you to work with Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. Now, ultimately, I didn't have it in my mock because I didn't think it was going to happen. And I thought if the Broncos were going to draft Bo Nix, I thought it was going to be because they traded back, they got some pick on day 2, and they made it happen somewhere on day 2. But instead, we had a record number of quarterbacks going in the first half of a draft, and Bo Nix is QB6 off the board at number freaking 12. Half of the top 12 picks were quarterbacks. But I love it, man. I love this connection. I think he has the opportunity to really thrive in Denver. Again, didn't see it coming, but I love the connection. I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, Sean Payton gets his guy. They got to put more around Bo, is what I'll say. You look at this, you have an unhappy Cortland Sutton right now. You traded Jerry Jeudy. Hopefully you can get more out of Marvin Mims this year, and hopefully you can keep Sutton happy. I don't know how that saga is going to end, and this offensive line has to play well. But the bottom line is, Sean, there was and you like you said, you were all over this. There was a clear fit with Sean Payton, what he likes, and Bo Nix. And like Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, Bo Nix is another guy that stayed in college for the long haul and really reinvented himself and became a smarter, more efficient quarterback, ended up being a top 15 pick. And I'm not saying this is going to change a trend of college quarterbacks, but when you look at the story of those three, it's just really, really impressive for their NFL draft story to start here.
Yep. Look, I like the pick. I really do. I like the Bo Nix pick. I think it could be really nice for him. Brock Bowers going to the Raiders at 13. Can't say I saw this one coming.
No, a stunner for me.
I don't hate it because Bowers is
Bowers is great. Right. I thought Quinyon Mitchell or a right tackle.
That's what I thought, man. You just drafted Michael Mayer.
But they didn't. And this always happens with new regimes.
Oh, you're saying, the new regime did.
Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce didn't draft him. So now let me throw this at you though. Because I did
GM still. Forgot about that.
Right away, I was like, you know what? To be fair, they could still like Michael Mayer. You play him as your Y, and you're going to play Bowers as your slot. They coexist, in my opinion.
No, they can. Yeah. Because in order for Bowers to give you the return on investment that you want for his talent level, he has to basically play wide receiver anyways, right? I mean, you can't play him in line at tight end. Okay, so him getting picked at number 13, you don't really have to talk about the tight end financial conversation because the guaranteed monies, it's not like he's paid like a top 10 tight end or anything like that. I think it's fine. But I think Mayer is more of your in-line blocking tight end, like you just said. And I think that Brock is just more of your full-time slot receiver, which is probably how you get the most ROI on both those guys. So it's like, I didn't see this pick coming. I don't hate it. It's fine. One of the best players in the draft. They get it. A top 10 player in the draft they got outside of the top 10. So I can't hate it that much.
No. And we know the Raiders, they're just going to try to run through your face. Like, they're going to be like, Gardner Minshew, get the ball out to our playmakers quickly. And unless it's 3rd and long and you got to run around and do something. But we're going to try to keep you out of 3rd and long because we think we can run downhill with our style of football.
Dave D said, let Aiden O'Connell microwave.
Microwave is really good.
I'm there with you. New Orleans Saints.
Really good.
New Orleans Saints picking.
Let Aiden O'Connell easy bake oven. Let Aiden O'Connell lunchable up in this. Yep. Oh man.
Let Aiden O'Connell reverse sear this offense straight back to relevancy.
There we go.
Let Aiden O'Connell sous vide this offense back to the top of the division.
Oh man, we're gonna milk this one for all it's worth.
Talise Fuanga going number 14. Obvious pick.
They had to do tackle.
The Saints were just going to pick whichever offensive tackle was highest on their board. They have to. They had no choice.
They probably still could use another one tomorrow.
This next pick, though, loved. I love Laiatu Latu going to the Indianapolis Colts. And even though I would have liked to see the Colts trade up to go get Bowers, the fact that they do sit at number 15 and we're still able to get a player that I think is going to be high impact for them, getting the best pass rusher in the draft, yeah, I said it, at number 15, I think it's beautiful work by Chris Ballard. I really do.
Yeah, you could see a world where Latu walks away as Defensive Rookie of the Year in this defense. I mean, let him pin his ears back and go. He's got a wide variety of moves. The Colts seem well coached on the defensive side of the ball. I think that you kind of trust Ballard on this one, right? And for Latu, another guy that got medical clearance where, you know, another remarkable turnaround for him. I was laughing at let Aiden O'Connell string cheese.
I was laughing at Ruby. He said, you don't need a neck to play football for Latu.
Every time you say you go high impact or something like that, I think you're leaning into the Wolf of Wall Street bit and then you stop. So I start to smile when you're like high impact, and I think you're gonna start doing the phone call again, and I can't control myself.
No, I can't do it. I can't do it too often.
No, I know it's like a bad habit baked into my brain right now.
Anthony said, "Talk Bears. They're good. We said they're good. It's an A+ draft. You come away with."
I mean, the Bears 11 personnel is Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, who could probably play in the slot now with Rome as a perimeter guy. You have Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett that are both mismatched tight ends in certain situations. DeAndre Swift added to the backfield. The offensive line looked more cohesive at the end of last year. Oh, and you got a quarterback that could just throw the ball at all 3 levels of the field with accuracy. So, yeah, you probably missed when we said the Bears are going to make the playoffs. We're pretty high on the Bears right now.
I'm going to skip around because there's a lot of Tampa people who are asking me in the chat what I thought about the Graham Barton pick to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
He's absolutely one of the players that I would have told you Jason Light had on the short list, right? 5 to 7 players is what Jason Light said, that they thought realistically could have made it to them at number 26. And he 100% was going to be one of those players that they had on that list. Now, I don't know how high he was. I don't know what the pecking order was of guys that they wanted. I really do think they wanted an edge rusher. I bet they would have loved Jared Verse. I bet they would have loved Laiatu Latu. So I kind of feel as though those guys were a little bit higher in the bucket than Graham Barton. But this is a perfect match for a Jason Light type of a player. College left tackle who you're going to stick inside and have him have a ton of versatility for you. And that's exactly what Ali Marpet was. It's exactly what Luka Decky was. It's exactly what Cody Mock was. Like, this is, I think Alex Kappa was the exact same way. And so all of these players. Now, the common denominator here is he drafted all those players later. He didn't draft them in the first round. So the reason why I didn't have Barton going to the Bucs in my final mock draft because I had him going to the Steelers at 20 because I didn't think Troy Fautano was going to last all the way to number 20. But I wasn't really pounding the table for Barton. 1, because I thought he'd be off the board. 2, I felt like the Bucs were going to wait because that's always been Jason Light's plan. But since the pass rushers were not there, Light drafted a player who's got versatility, who they know is going to start right away. And they mentioned in his post-draft press conference, he mentioned that the Barton's going to play center for him. And I think that he is a week 1 starting center for them and a guy that they're absolutely going to love. So
yeah, I think everybody in this division wants to get a little bit tougher, right? And it feels like with the Bucks, this is that high floor pick where you get an Iron Man offensive lineman that's a great athlete that you could just lean on when you already have one of those in Tristan Wirfs. So Barton was a really good value tonight.
Keeping it going here, Byron Murphy II going to the Seattle Seahawks. Apparently they tried to trade up for Michael Penix. They stick and go Byron Murphy. All right. Fine, I suppose. Dallas Turner, we talked about that at 17. Mims to the Bengals at 18. I love this pick. There's not really a ton to analyze. I think it's the perfect pick for them. Mims doesn't have to start right away, but he gives you a wild high ceiling for what he could be as a prospect. So to me, I loved it. What'd you think?
I loved it a lot too. And you put Mims in a room with Trent Brown and Orlando Brown Jr., who happen to be 3 of the biggest human beings on planet Earth, but also I kind of like that for Mims, that he gets to watch 2 guys go to work that are gonna, and I know Trent Brown has been beat up over the years, but like they're guys that are really big. And how do you take care of your body, and how do you practice, and how do you play as a bigger tackle where, yes, it's harder to get around you, but here are some of the technique things that I'm going to point out to you. And here's how to keep your pads down. So I really like the fit. I mean, this was a pretty popular mock pick for a couple months and it came to fruition. What are we cooking?
Somebody in the comments said, somebody on Twitter said Atlanta drafted Penix to mentor Cousins.
Oh, that's good. That's pretty good. Oh man, did you see the video of Terry Fontenot and like Arthur Blank talking in the war room?
What, like before the pick or what?
No, it looked like Terry Fontenot was explaining the situation to Arthur Blank, which was fascinating. I mean, hey, I hope Penix is awesome, obviously. I have no idea how this thing's going to play out in the short term.
Oh, so the Rams go with Jared Verse. Now, I didn't see this. Now, I didn't see this one coming. And the reason why is because the Rams play an odd front a lot, right? So their edge rushers are typically stand-up outside linebacker types. And after the draft, McVay said, we think Verse can play everywhere. We think he can play outside linebacker. We think he can play hand in the dirt defensive end. We think he can kick inside and play heads up against guards. And he certainly has the power to be able to play more versatile spots on the interior, maybe even go into 3-tech a little bit. But what?
I just can't stop looking at the comments.
All right, fire it off.
Terry is fired by Monday. Isn't Arthur Blank 200 years old? Maybe he just didn't hear it. Rams cowards for not trading back. Imagine being called a coward for making a pick.
So this is what I was going to say about Verse. You and I both love him. Great day to be a Great Dane, all that good stuff.
It really is.
But in situations where Verse was asked to be a outside linebacker type of a player, 71.5 PFF grade over the last 2 years, and a 77.8 pass rush grade. But as a hand in the dirt defensive end, 85.8 overall grade over the last 2 years, 90.6 pass rush grade. Something that I noted in my draft guide was that he is very clearly more comfortable rushing from a hand in the dirt position. So I like the player. It's an interesting spot for me. I think he'll be good for the Rams, but is it the perfect spot? I don't know. So I had to throw that out because I had some data points that I wanted to tell people.
I think it's a really good point by you, and something I didn't really even process until we just had this conversation, because you watched, like, they have like 309-pound Michael Hoyt stand-up rusher. Like, they do really weird stuff, and it works.
True. That is true.
So they probably just feel like Verse, the athlete, who is a really good athlete, will be able to do what they ask, and I won't bet against them. I love the value of the pick. I had Verse as the top defender in the draft. I thought he had a really high floor, so I think the Rams did well.
Troy Fautanu, 20 to the Steelers. I think this is an absolute steal for them. Fautanu can play left tackle even right away, and you could put Broderick Jones back at right tackle, and I think that you've got 2 fantastic young offensive tackles there that I think you're really happy with, and if you ever wanted to kick Fautanu into guard for whatever reason, I think you can absolutely do that. So, all right, keep going.
Blank and Penix went to high school together. That's from Andre Pompey.
That's good.
That's good. That's the stuff. That's the stuff I need at 2:30 a.m. Oh my
That's
goodness.
what we need to keep this going. Chop Robinson goes to the Miami Dolphins at number 21. I don't hate it.
Yeah, but you know what I think is weird about it?
Go ahead.
I like that I freeze framed you with the hands. Is that, and I mean, also to be fair to them, it was kind of out of their hands because the pass rushers just went in front of them. I don't hate it. Chop's a great athlete. I thought he was a first rounder. That I felt like the Dolphins really needed somebody that's ready to go with Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb coming off season-ending injuries. And they took the one guy that is absolutely not ready to go. You know what I'm saying? But they also, it was kind of out of their hands because they were picking, you know, when the top 3 edge rushers were gone.
Look, people who listen to this channel know my stance on Chop Robinson. I've been lower on him than consensus for basically the entire process. I feel like he's very limited as a player. Like, I think he's just a pass rush specialist. However, he's an athletic freak. So that pass rush specialist role can be very valuable. When Miami is fully healthy, I think that has a ton of value. And Chris Collinsworth on our main desk tonight made a really good point. They're playing in Miami. It's hot in Miami. You got to rotate edge rushers to keep these dudes fresh. Like, it's just a fact of playing in Miami. So when they are fully healthy, I actually don't mind this. Now, would I have rather picked a passer specialist in the second round? Sure, but Chop's athletic ability, it doesn't really get out of the first round. So it kind of is what it is. I hear you that they kind of need somebody to play right away, but long term, beyond just the first half of next season, I don't hate this situation. The value of where he was picked in the first round, okay, I would have liked for them to trade down, but maybe he doesn't even make it there. I don't know. The value is a different story, but the actual landing spot, I don't hate for Chop. I see a world where he could be really successful for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just going to take a while. But to be fair to the Dolphins, you look at how the draft went in front of them, right? Like, Verse, Turner, and Latu would have made sense. They were gone. Fatanu, Mims, Fashanu, Fuanga, like, they all made sense, and they were all gone. I thought Graham Barton was going to be the pick here, but they opted, to go a different direction.
Graham Barton wasn't fast enough. Eric on Twitter wanted me to say this, and this is a good point. We kind of skipped over the Byron Murphy the second pick, and Mike McDonald is coming over from Baltimore. He's also coming from the Michigan Wolverines defense when he was there as their defense coordinator. And in both spots, very versatile, very athletic along the defensive line. So this does, bode well for what they like to do, how versatile they like to stick on the defensive line. I do think it was a good pick, even though we were kind of quick on that analysis there. The Eagles at 22, one of the steals of the draft with Quinyon Mitchell here. I mean, if they wanted Quinyon, I thought they were going to have to trade up with the Broncos at 12. And they sat at 22, and they were able to get CB1 in the draft for probably what they wanted.
They got to be. How do they do this again? Right? It's just they
can't keep getting away with it.
They cannot keep getting away with this. I think they were even a little surprised. Like, they were probably exploring a way up, and then the board fell perfectly for them, and they ended up with Quinyon Mitchell, who was ready to roll out of the gate. And This was their one need, in my opinion.
This is a dream pick. Absolute dream pick and a home run for the Philadelphia Eagles. I just can't believe that they were able to do it again. The Jags moved back from 17 to 23. They take Brian Thomas Jr. Here is something that I wanted to point out about this Brian Thomas Jr. selection. Well, actually, I would like to hear what you thought first. Brian Thomas Jr. is your guy. You got him as a top 15 player in this class.
Yeah.
Jags trade back, get a really nice haul, by the way. They got a 5th rounder this year, a 3rd rounder next year, and a 4th rounder next year to move back, and still got Brian Thomas Jr. So what'd you think about this from the Jags?
Well, I like that Jacksonville is embracing being a more vertical offense. You sign Gabe Davis, which is okay, but then you go get Brian Thomas Jr., and it's like, now we're going to utilize Trevor Lawrence's arm to push the ball down the field. And at a minimum, this is going to keep our boxes a little lighter when we need to run the ball. So I thought the value of the player is phenomenal. I mean, this is somebody, once again, that reminds me of Christian Watson, and now it's going to bring out a different side of Trevor Lawrence that this team has lacked a little bit as well. So and you nailed it. The capital return, they're going to really appreciate having that
Huge.
extra 3 and 4 next year.
And man, that was a lot for the Vikings to trade up.
Vikings, they paid the price. I mean, let's not forget they flipped from 11 to 10 because they needed to make sure they were getting McCarthy, but they gave up a 4th and a 5th. So they started a lot of round 3 and on picks in this draft.
Right now, the Vikings pick in the first round next year, and then they do not pick again until the 5th round. They don't have a second round pick because they lost it in the trade to the Texans to get number 23 this year. They don't have a third round pick because they traded it to Jacksonville. They don't have a 4th round pick because they traded it to Jacksonville. So unless they get a high comp pick, first round, 5th round, that's a little crazy to look at there. But on the Jag side of things, here's what I think about the Brian Thomas Jr. move. I did not realize how much the Jags pushed the ball down the field last year and how they are truly, like you mentioned, now embracing that excellent part of their passing identity from last season. On passes that were 20 yards or more, the Jags had the 8th most attempts of such passes, the 5th most yards of such passes, the most big-time throws, and the 4th highest passing grade when targeting wide receivers 20 or more yards down the field. They are now fully embracing that as their identity. And I love it. And honestly, Trevor Lawrence could throw for more than 5,000 yards next year. I think that's the type of offense they're trying to build with Gabe Davis and with Brian Thomas Jr. It's a little redundant, but it's not redundant if you say we are now a vertical offense. That is what we are going to be. Because then you could set up spots for both of these guys to thrive. And I think Trevor Lawrence is in for a monster statistical season next year if he's fully.
Yeah, you didn't draft Trevor Lawrence number 1 overall to throw screens. I mean, let's get this thing going. So I'm laughing. I tweeted there was over 1,500 sickos in here. Now there's over 2,000, which is just, once again, thank you to everybody that's joining us at this hour. Austin on Twitter replied to me and said, someone tried selling me a pen and now I'm here. It's a really good response.
That's how you get here, baby.
Our podcast is like half NFL draft, half like funny sales jokes, mostly related to Wolf of Wall Street.
Obscure Wolf of Wall Street references.
I will not die sober.
That was you on the drive home, just blaring house music, trying to feel alive, getting ready for this show.
Yes, and I am back and ready to roll.
Okay, so the Lions, what an unbelievable move here with them being able to capitalize on the fall of some of these corners. You give up a 3rd round pick to go get Carlton Davis earlier this offseason. Now you give up a 3rd round pick to go up in the draft to get yourself Terry Arnold. This is a Super Bowl foot is on the gas move for the Detroit Lions. You and I talked 1 year ago here on this show. Sort of like, man, we like the players that the Lions drafted, and then we waited for day 2 and we're like, we kind of really love their draft class here. It's actually pretty sick. I don't know, Jim. Jameer Gibbs at 12, Jim. But
Jack Campbell, never seen him play. Here we go. How about the crowd reaction? It was like when The Rock came back like for WrestleMania.
That's a really good reference.
It was insane.
But now they're just, the band is back together, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown signs the contract. Ben Johnson's still there. They go get the corners that they felt like they were missing to really continue to compete. The offense is hopefully going to take another step with some of those young guys getting even better next season. This is a Super Bowl year for the Lions. And I think a move like this just continues that for them.
It's just so on brand, right, when you look at the pick, because you look at the kind of corner that Terrion Arnold is, and it just makes you laugh because he was a big safety recruit coming out of high school, and he plays corner like a safety, like the big tackling, trying to take away the football. Like the DNA of him just fits in so well with Detroit and what Dan Campbell is building that I thought it was one of the, because it was the end of the draft, it didn't get the love it deserved, but I thought it was one of the cooler moments of the draft.
Lions get an F for not drafting Audric Estime, says the comments, and we obviously have to agree.
Still time.
When we do our draft grade episode, there's just going to be 31 Fs and then just 1 A+.
Who got Audric Estime?
Get the insane value of Audric Estime now in this draft.
All the upside in the world.
The Packers end up going with Jordan Morgan, even with Cooper DeJean on the board. So, they ended up going with a versatile guy who we've talked about it before on this show. He can play guard. He can play tackle. I thought they would go Graham Barton, but They went with Morgan instead, but Morgan's your guy, so I'm sure you felt good about that, right?
I mean, yes and no. It's funny when you say that because I like Morgan, but at the time it was one of the bigger reaches for me in the draft. I shouldn't say reach because I had him in the 30s and he went 25, so whatever. But in context that Barton was on the board, I didn't like that. It's Morgan will be fine. He fits very Packers scouting metrics, but I mean, Graham Barton to me was, oh man, Morgan was player 35. Graham Barton was 20. Like,
yeah,
for guys that are supposed to do the same thing, I would have taken Barton. Simple as that.
It is I'm similar on the rankings. I don't hate the move because here's the thing. I think Barton's a better football player. I think Morgan might be the better tackle.
Yes, I thought Morgan had a real shot at tackle. I never looked at Barton that way.
So that's where I'm okay with it for the Packers if they really want that true tackle versatility. If you're viewing both of these picks as strictly guards, Barton should have been the pick.
That's a really good way of framing it that I did not
that's just not do. Kind of the way that I see it. We talked about the Bucs already. Darius Robinson going round 1. He did not sneak into the back end of my predictive mock. I don't know if he was in yours.
He wasn't, and he really should have been. I mean, Sims was in my ear that this was happening, and I don't know why.
That he was going round 1 or that he was going Cardinals?
No, that he was going round 1. Like this, everybody in the league knew this was happening, and I didn't put him in my mock, so that was a miss by me. This was the biggest reach, actually. I mean, I had Darius Robinson as the 63rd overall player in the draft. They took him in the first round.
You know, on my big board, it's the same. It is. I agree with you. It's the biggest reach. But I will say this: of the teams that Darius Robinson could have gone to in round 1, or really just at all early in this draft, the Cardinals are actually a spot that I do like for him because Gannon plays more of an odd front defense. And if we're going to be honest, to maximize the versatility of everything that Darius Robinson actually brings to the table, he's probably a 3-4 defensive end. He's got the length. He's got the strength. He could play 5 technique down to 3 technique for you. You could basically interchange him anywhere you want. He could certainly play 4-eye right in the middle, obviously, as a lot of 3-4 defensive ends align in. I didn't really love the value for him in an even front team. Like, people talked about, okay, like, he could be a draft for the Lions. Like, oh, they'd love him. Okay, maybe they love him, but I don't know how much value you get out of this guy if he's just playing 5 technique in an even front for you.
And he didn't test like that. He didn't test like that kind of player.
Right. But as a 3-4 defensive end, that's where I think you can actually get the maximum value out of him. So do I love him at 27?
That's a good point, though.
No. I wish they would have drafted him at 35 or wherever they have that early second-round pick. But now that he is there, it's sort of like the Lions situation last year. It's like, all right, do I love the value of where you drafted this guy? No. But now that he's on the team, could work out for you. Could be a decent pick for you. All right. The chat's been talking about this, and we have yet to really address it. So the Bills trade with the Chiefs.
Yeah, just why?
It didn't really work out for them when the Chiefs traded up with the Bills in 2017 and the Chiefs drafted Patrick Mahomes. It hasn't really worked out for you since basically every time you've played this team in the playoffs. The logic in me tells you, hey, who cares that it's with the Chiefs? If it makes your team better and you like the trade, just make the trade. The other part in me goes, why the hell are you doing anything at all to try to help the Kansas City Chiefs? The team that has been in your way, that has shut your winning window that you have had over the last 3 years. This is the team that has shut that every single year. And you just traded with them so they could come up and get Xavier Worthy.
Why? For crumbs. It's not like they got a second-round pick out of this.
They jumped up from the 4th round to the 3rd round.
Crumbs.
Which, sure. But
or Puka Nacua. We don't know. We don't know.
I mean, it's 2 rounds earlier than Puka Nacua is going to be there.
I know. It's more Jaden Reed.
What's the big deal? You know?
No,
I
just don't like the, doing business with the enemy.
I don't either.
Call me old school. I don't like it.
I don't either, man. I'd rather if I'm the Bills, I'd rather trade with the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Patriots before I trade with the Chiefs.
Yeah, because you've had their number for years.
The Chiefs are on a blacklist for me.
Right. The Chiefs are like the
If Brett Veach calls me and I'm Brandon B and I pick up the phone and I say piss off and I slam the phone down like it's a Hollywood movie.
I make sure Brett Veach does not have my number or he's blocked. There's no way. No way I'm doing this. But they did. So
But they did, and the Chiefs get Xavier Worthy. So, Marquise Brown, Xavier Worthy, the team is very clearly going to want to increase how much they were passing the ball deep down the field, more than they were the last season. Dallas Cowboys trade back from 24 to 29 and get Tyler Guyton. I don't like it. It could work out. It could work out. I totally see it. But the Cowboys are sitting there at 24. I think Jordan Morgan and Graham Barton, who are still on the board at the time, would have been better picks for the Dallas Cowboys. Drafting Guyton, you're now putting yourself in an interesting situation because you say to yourself, where is Guyton playing? He played right tackle basically his entire career when it was for meaningful starting reps at Oklahoma. He was only a one-year starter, and he only started at right tackle this past year. The tape was rough sometimes because of the inexperience that he has, and you know that he has to sit to get better. So are you drafting a guy at 29 who's going to sit behind Terrence Steele at right tackle and not really play for you next year when you have multiple holes on the offensive line you have to fill? Or are they transitioning him from right tackle to left tackle when he has not played left tackle at all whatsoever and was already raw in his technique and his consistency playing at right tackle where he actually had some experience, so that you could keep Tyler Smith at guard because I think he could be an all-pro guard? Well, then you're in a situation where you have to throw Tyler Guyton out there in week 1 of the NFL to play left tackle, a spot that he's never played before. Well, not never. Very scarcely played before. That's rough. That's not good. What did you think about this one, Connor? Them trading back and then them drafting Guyton?
I didn't like them trading back because I thought they should have taken Barton. That was my biggest issue with this whole thing. And it almost feels like they got obsessed with the trade out that they kind of played themselves. Now, obviously, they were in on Guyton, and I don't dislike Guyton. I ironically have Guyton as my 29th player. But the Cowboys I view as a win-now team. And I viewed Guyton as not a win-now player. Guyton is a one-year starter at right tackle. His hands are all over the place. He's one of the most gifted humans in this draft, like in terms of size and movement ability. But for the Cowboys here, I don't know. It just felt like a lot of risk that they didn't have. Like unnecessary risk is what I would call it.
I just didn't love it, man. I really didn't love it. Nate Wiggins going to the look. There's a world where obviously Guyton works out. I think his ceiling is great as a
I think she's going to take a little while, and that's okay. But is that okay for the Cowboys?
I just love the way that you put it there. They're a win now team. Guyton's not a you plug and play this guy at all whatsoever. Probably one of the least of any of the first round players that were drafted.
Right.
Maybe the most that is not a plug and play guy. We'll see. Nate Wiggins at 30 to the Baltimore Ravens. Wasn't sure if we were going to get Nate Wiggins in here, but feisty, just feels like a Baltimore Raven, So they ended up going corner. I think the Ravens really lost out on the offensive line run.
Yeah.
I think the fact, right when Guyton went off the board, it just felt like they were left grasping at straws.
Yeah. I mean, here, I'll say this, though. So you thought Guyton was their guy?
I thought some offensive tackle needed to be their guy. I mean, their offensive tackle situation is not good, especially long term. So I just felt like they slow played the draft, and by the time it got to them at 30, there's just no options available for him.
I did like Wiggins, and obviously you feel good about when Wiggins goes to, a team like Baltimore that seems to get it right a lot. But his move,
That's true.
Wiggins is one of the rare corners in this class where, yes, there is significant risk because of the weight, and I have some problems with the intensity in terms of tackling. But on an island, Wiggins can develop into a shutdown player, and that's really, really high upside praise.
The 49ers drafting Slick Rick.
I mean,
Ricky Pearsall.
Dream scenario if you love Slick Rick, which
Gator,
we do.
yeah, Gator great. And I wonder if this is, you're drafting him here thinking that one of Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk is going to be moved. Now John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan after the draft, after round 1, said like, no, like we're trying to keep both of those guys and also have Ricky Pearsall, which, all right, I guess. I don't really know where the targets come from then, so I kind of think that you're lying about this. I think that you're going to trade one of those wide receivers. To me, that's what this move said, is that they're trading one of those wide receivers at some point tomorrow. What do you think?
Man, it does feel like it's eroding over there with one of the two.
Yep.
Like, is it like if we unload Deebo, do we now have the ability to pay Ayuk? Is that the thought process? Or is the thought process, we're not going to pay Ayuk, so we have to unload him as much as Deebo is the guy you should trade? Or like Pearsall is the separator that you think would fit. I would rather just keep all three, but it does feel like
Juwan Jennings too, like who they very clearly like you're right in their offense.
It does feel like we're going to get hit with some kind of stunner tomorrow.
It's just too crowded for me now, especially with George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey. If they don't trade one of Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk, I don't know how Ricky Pearsall gets the targets that he should. I think one of those guys is getting traded.
That's fair.
And then David Tepper, he couldn't sit out of the first round. He could not help himself. Trades one spot from 33 to 32 to go up and, well, as this comment said, low moving costs, baby. From Columbia, South Carolina, it's about an hour and 15-minute drive up to Charlotte.
It's
Get
too
this
perfect.
man an apartment. The movers by the mile, it's saving Tepper millions in the process and getting themselves a wide receiver one. You absolutely love to see that. What'd you think, Connor? Xavier Legette.
I mean, definitely a little early for me, but I like that they were aggressive about getting their guy and a weapon and somebody that'll make life a little easier on Bryce. So, I mean, listen, they knew that I had Legette in the first round on my last mock. I think that's the first time I had him in the first round. I had a feeling he was going to sneak in. And Carolina got word of that too and said, you know what, we're going to make sure that we come back in and get him because we're worried about, obviously Buffalo. I had Buffalo taking him. Buffalo was obviously willing to trade out. And ultimately, Carolina just wanted to get this done. So I have no problem with it.
Okay. Just for fun, let's do this. Let's do this really quick because people in the comments have been asking for it. And the fact that they have stayed up until almost 3 a.m. Eastern time, I feel like we deserve to give it to them.
And we are on Eastern time.
Can we do the 33 through 40 a little mini mock draft for tomorrow?
Let's like really rip it though.
Yeah. No. I'm just basically looking at best available, and we're kind of just like going down the line here. I'm trying to pull up the full order. Y'all better make sure you say that we don't ever say that we don't do stuff for you. Because we absolutely do. We hear you in the comments, and we're making it happen. Okay, so the Buffalo Bills are sitting at 33. Any suggestions here? Troy Franklin, AD Mitchell, got
AD Mitchell.
Okay,
I'm gonna try to make this predictive. By the way.
Okay, all right. AD Mitchell to the Buffalo Bills there at number 33. New England Patriots here at 34.
Jalen Polk.
Ooh, okay. I like it. Arizona Cardinals. I know where I'm going with this one.
Please fire away.
This is Johnny Newton.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like Johnny Newton's is a slam dunk for them at this point.
Yes.
36, offensive tackle?
Suamatia.
Kingsley Suamatia? Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. 37, Chargers.
We're shredding this right now. Roman Wilson
or Troy Franklin? Who do you think gets drafted higher?
Roman.
Oh, wait, Ladd's still on the board too.
Ladd is on the board. Ladd's going to be a Titan at 38, right?
No, I don't think they'll draft wide receiver, will they?
Somebody's got to catch the ball from Will Levis.
I guess that is a good point. Ooh, you know what the Chargers could do? Oh, this would piss everybody off to Kingdom Come. If they drafted Zach Frazier as well, and they just set up the
lean into it.
Dude, just the beefiest, sickest offensive line.
I mean, it'd be pretty sick. I think 37's receiver. Or corner.
No,
Or
Cooper
corner. Cooper DeJean, duh.
Yeah.
Cooper DeJean.
Yeah. Cooper DeJean off the board at 37. 38, Tennessee Titans.
Okay. Let me look at my best available one more time. Kool-Aid?
Yeah. Kool-Aid McKinstry. Well, yeah, I guess they traded for L'Jarius, but they still need another corner, right?
No, you're right. That feels like a lot of assets in the corner. Okay, let's go back to receiver. Ladd or Keon? No, they're not going to go Keon. They need somebody that can separate.
Because they brought in Lloyd Cushenberry for center, so they don't need a center.
No,
Who's their safeties? Do they need a safety?
I mean, I just think it's early.
Oh, the Titans. Always throwing a wrench in things.
The Titans are becoming like Packers AFC.
Trying to speed rush this bad. But what about Junior Colson?
That's pretty hot.
They need a linebacker.
Yeah, that's I think you're onto something.
I'm going Junior Colson.
Okay.
I'm going Junior Colson here for the Tennessee Titans. Carolina back on the clock. They took Xavier Legette at number 32.
It's got to be edge rusher, but who? Can you go Jonah Ellis here because you signed Jadeveon Clowney? So you already have a edge setting edge.
The edge setting edge.
Yeah. Do you need another corner?
I think they do need another corner, right?
Like Kool-Aid could go here too.
If Kool-Aid goes here, then you got Kool-Aid on one side and J.C. Horn on the other in theory.
It's pretty sweet.
Which, I mean, they got Dane Jackson, but I'm going Kool-Aid McKinstry. Let's go Kool-Aid McKinstry here. Washington at 40.
This to me is...
They
signed Biadish.
Jonah Ellis at this spot?
Yes.
Do we think he gets drafted that high, though?
I don't know. No, Braswell. Or Adiza. It's Braswell or Adiza.
I think it should be Adiza.
Fine. Cool with that.
I think that's the way we're going there. Man, Joe, okay, all right. Where's Jackson Powers Johnson going on?
The comments asking for Austin McNamara, the Texas Tech punter.
Where's Jackson Powers Johnson going off the board?
He's falling because of the medical.
Yeah. Zach Frazier's still on the board at this point too.
Right.
Green Bay could go Edgerrin Cooper. All right, Houston. Let's get to Houston because that's Houston's first pick. This will be the last one. So let's say Edgerrin Cooper. Let's say Adiza Isaac goes 40 to the Washington Commanders. Edgerrin Cooper goes 41 to the Green Bay Packers. 42 the Houston Texans.
Sanders still.
Mikey Sanderstill, baby. And by that, of course, we mean Audric Estime, running back out of Notre Dame.
Perfect way to end the show.
Thank you guys so much for staying up and rocking with us. Man, this has been so much fun to do. Over an hour here recapping the draft in the wee hours of the night. Y'all are, we say this all the time, but it's just, this shit's so cool. It's so cool that we're sitting here at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and we got 2,000 people in the chat here freaking out with us about what happened in the 2024 NFL Draft. We love y'all so much. The next time that you hear us here on this channel will be Sunday morning. We're going to do our full draft grade recap episode coming on Sunday morning. So that is the next time that you're going to hear from us on this channel. But obviously, Connor's still going to be doing great work over on NBC. We're still going to have live shows from the PFF main studio desk. So make sure that you guys tune into that. Connor, you got anything else before we get out of here, my friend?
No, thank you to everybody that joined us. I know it was late. Sorry I got home late. This is a blast. Can't wait to do the grades on Sunday. And just thank you to everyone who keep rocking with us throughout this draft. It's only going to get crazier from here on out.
Love y'all. Thank you guys so much for staying up and watching the recap episode. And even if you're watching it the next morning, we love you anyways. Thank you so much for taking in the content that we've been doing all draft season long. Get some sleep. We got a lot more draft picks to cover and watch here throughout the weekend for the 2024 NFL Draft. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. We will see you for the draft grade episode after the draft on Sunday.